So the things that I have in front of me to make my handmade journal with are a cover, individual pages, which will become the signatures, needles for sewing, and awl for poking holes. It's pretty sharp. Pencil for marking things. I will be using DMC cotton floss to sew my journal together. Most bookbinders use waxed linen. I do have a tea light candle, which from like all the little hash marks in it, I have used this candle. This is to wax DMC floss multiple times. You will need preferably a contrasting piece of paper. It doesn't have to be, it's just a little, sometimes it's easier to see what you're doing. A contrast piece of paper that is about 3 inches wide and is the same height as your signatures. This is my cover, which is a slightly higher height than my signatures, but this piece of paper is the same height as my signatures, which is 6 inches. Something to measure with. I have a small tape measure. I also have a ruler. I will probably more likely use a tape measure. And some things to clip with. A small binder clip, a large binder clip, various size of large or extra large paper clips. Either of those things will work. Let's move all that away. Don't need that just yet. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is what kind of paper I am making my book out of. I am making my entire book out of Artist Loft canvas pad. I started with 12 by 16 inch 12-inch by 16-inch sheets. It was a pad that had 10 sheets in it, and it is the Artist Loft canvas pad. Now, there is something called canvas paper, and canvas paper is paper with a canvas texture laid on top of it. But what I am using is canvas pad, which is actually cotton canvas that has been gessoed on one side. So one side sounds like this, and the back side is smoother. And there's also a color difference. See how much wider this is than this, because the front has been gessoed already. Before, like I purchased, when you purchase it, it's gessoed. Size wise, my cover is an eighth of an inch larger than my signatures. That is not required. It's just the way I like to do it. My signatures are, oh, this is a little stack of them. There's 9 of them, 9 sheets of canvas pad here that have been cut down to 6 inches tall. By 15.5 inches wide. And my cover is 6.25 inches, 6.25 inches tall by 16 inches wide. So you can make your handmade journal any size you want. But when they're laying flat, you don't, I like for my cover to be a little bit larger than my signatures. That is not required. Most handmade journals, the cover and the signatures are the same size. So it's perfectly acceptable to make your life easier and make them the same size. So the next thing I'm going to do is fold the cover and the signatures in half. This way. I'm going to fold like so that they're long. I'm going to fold them in half, short edge to short edge. And this will be, when I'm done, this will be the size of my journal. Okay. The other thing I'm going to do is take my pencil and make a little dot on my cover right there. And the reason for that is so that when I am sewing them together, I am sure that the cover is in the same position when I punch the holes as it is when I sew it together, so that the holes have a much greater chance of staying in alignment. I'm also going to make a little dot right here in the upper right corner of my signatures for the exact same reason. It kind of helps to make sure things stay aligned properly. So, oh, I didn't bring a bone folder. Here's one. You don't have to have a bone folder to fold things in half. You've been folding things in half since you were in kindergarten. You can fold things in half as an adult without a bone folder. It just makes things easier. It just makes the creases smoother and more precise. So let's move that. Well, before I do that, the amount of thread that you will need is 3 times the height of your journal. So 1, it doesn't need to be precise. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm just going to wax this cotton floss by running it through this candle, this tea light candle, like this. Oh, wait, you can't see me. 2 or 3 times is quite sufficient. So 1, 2, I'm going to turn it the other way so that I get this end nicely waxed. Two, three. And then I'm just going to run my hands over it to see if it feels, the center section doesn't feel waxed enough. So I'm going to give it a little more wax in the center. And a little more wax on this end, which is probably going to get cut off anyway, but waxing helps the thread to go through the holes smoothly and concisely. And so that's our waxed thread. We're going to leave that there for a moment. Get some of this wax off my hands. And now we're just going to fold my cover and my 9 signatures. And we're just folding them in half. Nothing complicated. At all. We fold them in half. We're going to line up those edges, and then I'm going to run my hand along the center. And then I'm going to go up and down. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and go up. And see how crisp that fold is. Let's turn that over. Up and down. See? Nice and crisp. Especially with this canvas, I want to have a very crisp edges. So I'm just going to keep at that. I found it easier to not fold on top of other sheets. It just kind of helps me to see better. Center, up, down, up, down, up, up, up. Now that they're folded, you can see how my cover is bigger, taller than my signatures. So now we're just going to nest these together into one signature by putting one inside the other. Nothing. One of the things that some people will make alterations to is this opening edge here. Let me, something to contrast against. So they're not complete, they're not evenly lined up anymore, because it's just the process of nesting the pages together. The page that's on the inside is right here. but now there's this 1/8 of an inch gap between, not so much a gap, but difference between the outside page and the inside page, and that creates this edging, this staggered edge. Some people will go through and trim that so that they're all lined up, but doing so also makes sure also gives you a little bit less page width or less real estate on your inside pages because you just cut some of it off. I'm not going to do that, especially because it's canvas. But I tend to, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, really. But I'm certainly not going to do it on this one. Just allow it to be. And then all of these little nested pages are called a signature. And it's a pretty thick signature. Yeah, that's gonna be something. So this is my cover, and I'm just gonna put that on the outside. And, okay, so this piece of paper, which is not the size of my cover, it is the size of my signatures, however. We are going to do 3 holes, one in the middle, and one that's a 1/2 inch from the top, and one that's a 1/2 inch from the bottom. So to find the middle, the easiest thing to do is to take this 3-inch wide piece of paper and fold it in half lengthwise, long edge to long edge, or hot dog style. We want to get that pretty even. Pretty even. And when we have that hot dog style fold, now we're going to fold it in half again. We want it to be pretty even, pretty even. Now, where those 2 folds meet, that is our center. So when we go to punch these, we can line this up and punch it here, and that's going to be our center. So the next thing we're going to do is add a mark 1/2 inch from the top and 1/2 inch from the bottom. And a ruler for that. And line that up. And so you cannot see what I am doing. Gonna line that up. We really are. We're gonna line it up. And then there's a 1/2 inch mark right there. Oops, you can't see. Right there. We're just going to make a little mark there. And we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. And then we're going to take our pokey tool, properly known as an awl, and we are going to poke holes, one at this intersection, where this middle intersection where we folded that in half. We now know that where these 2 folds intersect, that is our center. So we're just gonna poke a little hole there. Try not to tear it, it's just paper. Oh. And where we put that 1/2 inch, that mark at the 1/2 inch, we're going to make another little hole. Oopsie, maybe. I'm going to try to make a hole and not poke myself with this awl. And then on the other side where we have that 1/2 inch mark, so there are our 3 holes that we are going to use to poke holes to sew our journal together. So first, those together so that they're all nice and aligned. We're going to grab our bone folder or our ruler and push that inside page up against the outside page. And then we're going to wrap our cover around it. And I'm just going to eyeball that. Close enough. And again, I'm going to use my ruler to push that outside edge. I actually want this edge lined up a little bit better. That. And let's clip the outside edge back. That over. That back. This in there. That's better. Okay. Better. Okay. So now we're going to take our pokey tool and poke holes through the signatures, the inside pages, as well as the cover, all at the same time. We're going to start at the center. We're going to line that up and close the cover and then push. See that come out there? Because this is a 3-hole binding, we're going to need to be able to go into this hole, this center hole, twice. So I'm going to keep pushing until this all comes much further through because I need that hole to be bigger. 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 It's a little force, and then I'm going to pull it out. Send it through. Oopsie. Oopsie. Close the cover. Send it through one more time. Get that center hole. Now it looks like I'm wrinkling the cover, and you know, I am, but it's okay. It'll be fine. You won't be able to tell that I wrinkled the cover when I finish adding paint to it later on. Okay, now, see how nice and big that hole is? Isn't it lovely? So now we are going to punch holes to the top and bottom. And again, I'm closing the cover onto my hand and the pushing with the cover closed. So that helps to get the holes better aligned. And with books this thick, I like to take the all the way out and then put it in again to make sure I got those holes aligned good. That's the second one. Another paper clip over here. So now we're going to do the top one. Right. And there. And take it out. Put it in again. Okay. Now we can remove our hole punching guide. We can grab our little tube of needles and our waxed thread, in this case, cotton. And we're going to find a needle that the thread will go through comfortably, but is not overly large. So that is going to be this one, I think. And then I'm going to put the rest of these back in here. Sharp bits first, because those needles are all sharp and they all hurt when you poke yourself with them. So I'm going to thread this needle with this waxed cotton. Bam and bam. Whoop, whoop. So we have our 3 holes, 1, 2, 3. We're going to go from the inside out. Oh man, this is a bendy needle. I don't like bendy needles. I don't like bent tip needles for this. Find it. I don't know. I don't like it. Let's just this one instead. See, that has a bent tip. I don't like sewing journals with bent tip needles. It's personal choice. Let's thread that needle. And I'm going to grab, and I can't see what I'm doing, I'm sorry. A small piece of Scotch tape, because I'm going to need that in a minute. Okay, so here's our needle that's threaded on the sharp needle. And we are going to go from the inside to the outside, starting at the center hole. And sometimes it takes a second. See that coming out. Just gonna pull it until we have a little tail on the inside. We're gonna take a little piece of tape and tape that down so that as we're sewing, so that as I'm sewing, I don't accidentally pull that completely out. Done that before, it's a very frustrating. Okay, so for our second hole, that's so not where it's supposed to be. Okay, so for our second hole, you can either go through the top or through the bottom. It does not matter. But we're going to go from the outside to the inside. Needle. Ouch. And we pull it through. And we want this edge on the outside. We want our thread on the outside to be taut, but not, we don't want to make, if you're using paper for your cover and your signatures, you want to be careful to not tear the paper. Canvas is sturdier, so I can pull a little more without worrying about tearing the canvas. So we went out through the center hole, came in through the top hole, and this is where we are right now. And now we're going to go out through the bottom hole. And it also helps to kind of close the cover so that the holes can line up again. I still have wax on my hands. It's making it hard for me to hold on to the needle. But you see that needle? It's coming through. There we go. There we go. So now we want that center to be taut, like a guitar, kind of like, not too taut, but a little bit like a guitar, like a guitar string. And now we're going to go back through the center hole that we started from. Oh, you can't see. So now we're going to go back through the center hole that we started from. I'm going to try not to take the needle through the thread. I don't want to puncture the thread. I just want the needle to go through the hole, not the thread, just the hole. And we preferably want the needle to be on the opposite side of the center thread. Well, let me say it a different way. We also want the center thread to be in the center of these two strands, the starting strand and now the finishing strand. So, see how the center strand is, there's one strand on the on the right side and this strand is on the left side. That's what we want. So we can take our needle out. We can take this piece of thread off. I mean, piece of tape off. And now we have our two ends, our starting end on this side and our finishing end on this side. And we're going to make a square knot over this center strand. And a square knot is simply whichever hand you start with, that hand is going to go over. And come through. And tighten that. So since we started with the right, going over, now we're going to start with the left. So the left is going to go over and come through and tighten. And that is one stone handmade journal. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to trim these tails to about an inch. Then I'm going to lay them on opposite sides. And I like to bring back my candle wax and just put a little bit of wax on the end of that thread on both sides. And then just press them down. This one doesn't want to stay over there. It really, really doesn't. There, that's better. Okay. Now I'm going to take all of the clips off. And I am going to place some heavy books or boxes or a couple heavy things on top of this so that the folds, so that it's laying pretty flat already, but I wanted to get even flatter, and just a little weight will help it to be a little flatter. So that is my handmade journal that is made from that is my handmade journal made from canvas pad. So this will be the first time I've made a journal from 100% from canvas pad. So I'm looking forward to throwing a whole lot of color and texture on this puppy and seeing how it holds up. So I will see you soon. The next thing we're going to do is determine what my 3 to 5 colors are going to be. The next thing I'm going to do is put this under weight overnight. And then I will play with colors and some swatching of colors. And I hope to see you back here for that part. Have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.